In this video, we shall be creating a study with a basic print setup. So to create a study, we click the Create New Study button and we can enter in a name, print study. And to do the setup, we shall go into Prepare. Now on the Prepare screen, we're basically going to add some tasks to our selected test. So to begin with, we shall open up the question editor, and in here you can add different types of questions. We're just going to be adding a simple instruction to go before the magazine. I've done a quick thing so we can whiz past the details. And we'll just enter the instruction. You can add images to instructions, and I'll show you some of the different types of questions in some of the future tasks that we're going to add in. So that's the questionnaire added. We can rename the task container, do the same so we know what we're doing. Next slide will be a magazine. Here we're going to add in our newspaper images, and to edit the order of those pages once they've been added to the newspaper, we double click and that takes us to the print editor. Print editor allows us to organize the different pages of the magazine or newspaper that we're editing. We don't need this image. That's the out of context image I'm going to add later. And we can simply drag and organize our pages into the correct order. Again, I've done a little sheet so we can name these as before. It's always good to give these names for when you come to analyzing the data later on, you know exactly what you're referring to. So that is there. Footnotes at the back. So we basically have two adverts that we're testing here, and they're separated by articles. So we're mainly concerned about the target pages here. So we have two in context adverts. Okay, now that's the order that we're wanting them in, and we can also group so that we keep two pages together, which are called a spread. So if we keep those and those together, we'll be able to see this when we come to randomizing it with the pseudo-randomizer tool. Okay, that should do that. Our next task will be to add a couple of questions. So we want to do a recall question to see if a person has remembered the adverts that they've read. So this is basically just a listed question, and we can add a varied number of listed items that people can tick. So you can either have it as a single choice or a multiple choice type question, and this time we're going to be looking for a multiple choice answer. So we tick a little box there, and then to add the different options that we want in a list, we can just click there and add. different options. I'm going to put in a false one just for this. Okay, so that says so far. Just go and recall, and we can do a quick preview if we want to see what a listed question looks like. So there is our option, and we can do multiple choice answers. And next we shall add in a like-out question, which requires an instruction and a like-out. And we'll just call this agreeability and an instruction. This appears above the actual like-out itself, and we will also show an image on this one this time. So this is a list of all the images that we've added to the test so far, and our like-out. We basically want to have an agreeability, so this just automatically adds in options. So we've got 7 listed like-out here with these as the headers, and you have other possibilities there just to make it a bit quicker for yourselves, or you can add in your own like-outs, and you can also change these that are already in there. Okay, and we've got 2 questions. Quality and price, and we'll be adding them in there like so, and that should be as done for the setup. Oops. Okay. I also need to add in the out of context image that I mentioned earlier, which is this one, and we want that before the agreeability question. We'll also add a demographic question to do with gender as an example. And now we want to set up pseudo-randomization. So we can have various layouts per task. And for a magazine task, we're going to just do a little bit of randomization. So this happens whenever a single participant is run through a test. You can have various number of different layouts, so you can discount ordering effects, and you'll also know exactly how many participants have run through a certain sequence of slides. So let's go and do a few of these. We'll be doing 4 of these different layouts, and we basically just want to change the order here, and we'll change the advert order this time, and then we'll do it for both the advert and the order. I have to make sure preferences is enabled and auto traverse. Auto traverse means that when you're running your tests, each participant will run through a single sequence. Your next participant will go on to the next sequence and on until you run out of sequences, and then it will go back to the first sequence in the list when auto traverse is ticked. You can do it manually, which means you'd untick the auto traverse checkbox here, and you would then maybe run 5 or 10 participants through layout 1 and then repeat for layout 2. You have to select each sequence manually. Okay, that is us done for the randomization. Okay, almost there. Another thing we have to make sure we do is when we're doing any type of randomization, like we've done with the newspaper, is that we have to make sure we do variations for each question. Okay. Whilst we're still on the subject of randomization, I just want to show you it in action. So we have the Specsavor first and then the LD second, and then another participant comes through, then we should have different. Then we've got the LD first and then the Specsavor second. So that's the type of thing you can do with the randomization stuff. Other things I would like to cover is that we can do grouping out here as well as in the newspaper. So if we wanted to group these actual tasks, we can group them out here, and this can be handy if we want to do automatic randomization rather than pseudo-randomization. So we can actually set different groups at random, and we can also do different tasks as being random. So you could maybe have a large group and you only want a couple of the tasks within that group to randomize between themselves. That's one way of doing it. But if you want full control, then the best way is through pseudo-randomization. I'll also quickly mention templates. Templates allow you to keep the same sequence for your test. So if you had studies in the future that would be fairly similar to this type of test, then you could easily just export this and it will export a skeleton of the test, and you'd be able to re-import it and fill out the images or videos or whatever that you have in the test out. And that's about it for the preparation video. In the next couple of videos we will be covering the testing and analysis of this study. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.